It's time for America Outdoors Radio. The fast-paced hour of outdoors radio ahead is not only awesome, but unlike those other shows, you can actually sleep in for this one. Better still, we've got a special Pacific Northwest edition for you, sponsored by Northwest Sportsman Magazine, Rugged Point Lodge on Vancouver Island, and Northwest Fishing Guides out of our hometown here in Everett. You won't find this version of America Outdoors Radio anywhere else. It's the Pacific Northwest edition of America Outdoors Radio. Brought to you by Fox Sports 1380 KRKO.
Welcome to the show. We've got another great Pacific Northwest edition for you this week on America Outdoors Radio. As usual, we're talking to Jim Stahl with Northwest Fishing Guides. He's going to give you some advice about hooking into Columbia River Chinook salmon, whether you're fishing Drano Lake or at the mouth of the Klickitat. We'll also check in with Matt Gaget again at Rugged Point Lodge. He's going to tell you about a unique fly fishing opportunity he offers in the fall for coho salmon on the wild and scenic freshwater streams found on the northwest coast of Vancouver Island. And we'll check in with Bill Lackner in Lincoln City, Oregon. Crabbing is closed in most of Puget Sound, but it remains open along the Oregon coast with very liberal limits, and it's been very, very good lately. If you don't have a boat, don't worry. Bill has got just the thing for you, a throwable crab trap that catches up to 5 crab at a time. It's called the Crab Max, and you're going to love his demonstration of this product at Siletz Bay. But first, it's time to tell you what's hot in the Pacific Northwest. And one thing that's definitely hot is coho fishing in Lake Washington. It opened up yesterday, got a fishery from September 16th through October 31st. You're allowed to keep 2 coho salmon, but if you catch any Chinook or sockeye, you got to let them go. Another fishing opportunity is in Potholes Reservoir in eastern Washington. It's not for salmon, it's for panfish. That's the word from Mardon Resort, where we learn a Puyallup angler landed a 3+ pound crappie. That is a monster. And get this, another angler filleted a 3-pound bluegill. That's right, a 3-pound bluegill, not realizing the state record is 2 pounds and 4 ounces. As Homer Simpson would say, "No!" And with that, we'll leave Potholes Reservoir and head to the Columbia River. Time to check in with Jim Stahl again with Northwest Fishing Guides. Jim, you are fishing Drano, you are fishing the mouth of the Klickitat, you're targeting fall Chinook, and I got to ask, you've used certain strategies at the mouth of the Columbia River, but you're using different strategies, I'm guessing, up there off the mouth of the Klickitat.
Yeah, we're still doing mainly trolling for them. It changes a little bit just for the presentation, and then the terminal tackle changes, but the main rod reel mainline combination is still the same that we use in the lower river. Mainly fishing a lot of fish flashes and then cut plugs, or we're also fishing the pro trolls and the super baits. So it just depends on what the fish want. Mouth of the Klickitat, depending on water temperatures, we might also fish eggs, but I'm hoping it's going to be the troll fishery because I'd much rather do that.
That's really interesting you point that out, because I fished off the mouth of the Klickitat with guides before, and a lot of them will do that hover fishing with the eggs. Yep. And it's but you've got to have clients who have some skill and detect that really light bite, because if they don't, you're going to walk away with a lot of stripped eggs and no fish, or you're going to end up with a whole bunch of baby sturgeon.
Yeah, exactly. And it can drive people crazy because it's always, what's the bite feel like? And it's the hardest thing in the world to explain. I just usually tell people, if it feels different, it's probably a bite. I mean, you're not going to screw anything up. If you set the hook and it's not a fish, yeah, you might lose your eggs, but I'd rather have you set the hook and be a fish, and if you didn't set the hook and it was a fish, then we're going to lose some. But I'd rather have people swing and miss than not swing at all.
And I understand completely why you would rather have them trolling, because then it's just a gimme. You know exactly what's happening. The clients know exactly what's happening. It's much easier, and it's just as effective most years.
I just really like the troll fishery. 1, because the rod's in the holder. It's not rocket science, and 2, that you're covering water, and those 2 things together usually mean fish.
Well, there you go. If you want to book a trip with Jim Stahl and Northwest Fishing Guides, there are openings in the mouth of the Klickitat. It's a great fishery for fall Chinook. Most years coho, not so much this year, but plenty of Chinook to be had there. Simply go to the website nwfishingguides.net. Again, that's nwfishingguides.net. Thanks as always, Jim.
Yep, take care.
And with that, let's head to this week's national edition of America Outdoors Radio.
It's time for America Outdoors Radio, the show that covers the outdoor scene across the U.S. of A. and the entire continent. Fishing, hunting, conservation, outdoor recreation, and great destinations. We cover it all every week. It's your country, your outdoors. Let's explore it together with your host, John Cruz.
I'll start off the show today by asking you a question. What trips your trigger in September? Is it bow hunting? Out here in the West where I live, I've got quite a few friends who are spending time in the mountains and woods with a bow, hoping to get close to a deer or an elk this month. As a matter of fact, I'm looking out my window and watching my neighbor practicing with his compound bow as we speak. Rifle hunters get their shots too this month, with antelope seasons opening up in parts of the western U.S., and a few lucky hunters have drawn tags for bighorn sheep. Bear hunting is an option in much of the United States this month, and if you're in Alaska or Canada, this is prime time for caribou and moose. Shotgunners get to have their share of fun too in September. If you're a bird hunter like I am, you may have been swinging a shotgun and firing off some rounds in the hope of some doves. And mourning doves aren't the only bird out there this September. In many parts of the country, grouse season is open, and there are quite a few hunters walking the woods or the sagebrush hoping to kick these birds up too. Finally, if you're lucky, you live in a state with an early teal season. There are few things more fun than being out in the marsh and trying to hit these aerial acrobatic ducks as they swoop in and swoop past your blind. I bring all this up because hunting season is upon us, and if you want to have success this fall as a hunter, or, for that matter, as just a wildlife photographer, you'll want a good blind. One company that makes some incredible ones is called Nature Blinds out of Texas. They make polyurethane blinds that look all the world like a big oak tree stump, and they'll seat a couple people comfortably and keep you out of the elements, too. We caught up with Tim Thomason, the founder of Nature Blinds, at SHOT Show earlier this year in Las Vegas, and he's going to tell you all about them. What else do you want for hunting season? A way to get to your destination and back, whether it be in the mountains, the deep forest, the tundra, or somewhere else in the backcountry. If you're like me, you've got a pickup truck to get you places, but if you want to go further for a better chance at harvesting your trophy, you might want to consider buying an ATV. Gabe Egan with Chico Honda Motorsports in California will tell you more about that. He's also got a couple of models you may want to check out. Something else you want as both a hunter and an angler are bright lights. Anyone who has traveled a Forest Service road in the middle of the night or tried to navigate the sloughs and byways of a marsh at 4 a.m. in a duck boat know how important good lighting is and how tough it can be to navigate without good lighting. Well, technology has arrived to help you out in the form of LED lighting, and Blake Hamar with Cali Raised LED will explain more about that. And continuing with our hunting theme, we thought we would tempt you into taking an incredible adventure into the vast wild areas you'll find in Alaska. What am I talking about here? A do-it-yourself float hunt down an Alaskan river for moose, bear, or caribou. I'm talking about floating downstream in a raft here, a method of hunting that will get you close to some real big game. One person who knows all about this is Paul Atkins. He's an Alaska-based outdoors writer, as well as a pro staffer for Cabela's and Bowtech, and he'll give you some great advice on how you can put together one of these expeditions. We've got some outdoors news about a couple of our national parks, which seems appropriate given the fact the National Park Service is celebrating their 100th year of existence this year. And we've got a Trail of Shame segment about some shameful activity you have no doubt seen in a wildlife area or a refuge near you. As you can see, we've got a whole bunch of hunting on tap for this broadcast, but don't worry, we've got some fishing too, and we've got it coming at you in a big, big way with a very special guest you're going to hear from right now. As you probably know, Fishing League Worldwide, also known as FLW, is the world's largest tournament fishing organization, and they host an event called the Forest Cup. This year, it was in Huntsville, Alabama, the body of water, Wheeler Lake, and it's basically the Super Bowl of the FLW Bass Tournament Series. And who was that champion? His name, John Cox of DeBary, Florida, and we're talking to him now. John, congrats on this huge win and on a really big paycheck, $300,000.
Boy, it doesn't get old hearing that.
No, no, absolutely not. That's going to pay a few bills, definitely. Now, you've been on the FLW Bass Tournament Trail for several years now, and you've had a great deal of success as a Bass Pro angler. But I've got to ask, was this your first time fishing Wheeler Lake, or was it a body of water you were familiar with?
No, I was actually extremely familiar with Wheeler Lake. I mean, I think it might have been maybe 10 or 12 years of actually going there.
Oh, wow.
And I have never had any success at all on it. I don't think I've ever even drew a paycheck from any of the tournaments I went there. So, it was just, going into this thing, I just really, I was hoping, we all got paid to last place, so I knew I was getting a check. So, I was excited just to be in that one.
Well, that's interesting. So you went in there, basically, you had this cloud over your head. Another exercise in frustration is what you're thinking. But that's not what happened. We'll get into that in a minute. But before we do, tell our listeners a little bit about this lake in terms of size, structure, and how anglers generally target the fish in the summer months.
Okay, well, Wheeler Lake, it's a lake off the Tennessee River. Gunnersville flows into it, and then it flows into Wilson, which flows into Pickwick. And it's not your typical Tennessee River lakes. It doesn't have the numbers. It doesn't have any grass in it. It's probably one of the weaker systems in the whole Tennessee River. But I mean, it does have its times where it does get good. But we were just August. It was just it was tough. The only thing that was really going on were schooling fish on the main lake that were chasing shad, or running back into the backs of the creeks where that summer rains where the runoff would run out and those fish would get back there to those cooler water areas.
So let's talk about this a little bit, because you mentioned, and I heard from other sources as well, that it was a really tough tournament in terms of fishing success, but you managed to take home 54 pounds, 13 ounces of fish to the scales that, of course, went right back into the lake after they were weighed in. How'd you manage to do that?
When I got there, I thought about it, and I was like, I've never caught them out here on this lake, and I want to get as far as I possibly can off of it. And so when I started practicing, I started running up these creeks that there was only a few I've never been in before. And I'd run them as far back as I could, and then I'd jump over some logs and, go over some rocks and just try to get as far back as I could. I went into one earlier in the morning, didn't have any success. And then, later in the day, went and checked another one, and right at the end of the day, got all the way to the back and started really catching them. And it was, and then I realized it was going to be a good one to be in for the tournament.
Wow, that's a great story. And I got to ask, what tactic were you using? What kind of lure you're throwing?
I caught a lot of them. I found them when I got up there. It was raining, and I was catching them on a rattlehead spinnerbait during practice and shaking a lot of fish off. I had the hook folded over. But when I got up there tournament day, we had a lot of rain. It pushed a lot of duckweed into the middle of the canal that wasn't there during practice. And as soon as I saw it, I pulled a frog out and started throwing it around. And it wasn't even, the first 3 or 4 casts, and I caught a really nice one.
Nice. All right, so got to ask. Clearly, you get to bask a little bit in the glow of this win. This is a huge deal, but I know you're a working pro bass angler. What's next on the tournament trail?
We have Lake Norman coming up here soon. It's one of the invitational FLW's putting on. I'm going to go out there, and it's a nice way to just kind of stay focused going into next season, and I'm looking forward to that, and got some really cool things coming out for next year, and I'm just excited. I can't wait to get to that first tour stop on Gunnersville next year in February.
Well, there you go. Folks, you can follow what John Cox is doing and the other professional anglers that are fishing the FLW circuit by going to the website, flwfishing.com. There's also some videos that were produced regarding the FLW Forest Wood Cup, and John is in those, and they are definitely worth watching. John, thanks for your time. Congratulations again, and enjoy the rest of your bass fishing season.
Hey, thanks for having me on, bud.
Fishing season is here, and you need all the deck space you can get. With Reliable Fishing Products fish bags, you get just that. These fish bags will hold ice for 2 to 3 days and will help eliminate any smells that are associated with fish holes. Each bag has a drain plug for an easy clean and are completely collapsible for easy storage until needed for your catch. Simply open a bag, add ice, catch fish, and keep them fresh. What more can you ask for? Find out more at ReliableFishing.com. That's ReliableFishing.com.
Maxim Marine in Eugene is Western Oregon's friendly, family-owned dealer for North River and Thunderjet boats, two of the biggest names in heavy-gauge aluminum boats. We also provide award-winning sales and service for Suzuki and Yamaha outboard motors to give you peace of mind on the water. In addition to this, we sell and install Garmin Electronics, the premier brand of fish finders, autopilots, and radar. And if you need new power on your current boat, we can give you the best pricing around on repowers. That's Maxim Marine. Come see us in Eugene.
RVs and boats are not cheap, yet yours is getting hammered by rain, snow, falling branches, tree sap, and UV fading. So what can you do? Protect it with an all-steel Northwest metal cover. Right now, a 12 by 31 by 12-foot cover is only $19.99. Made in America and built for the Northwest with reinforced braces and a heavy-gauge, hot-dipped, galvanized steel frame. Just $19.99 to protect your investment in your boat or RV. Call All Steel Northwest at 360-277-0200.
Frontier Tactical's Warlock multiple caliber system allows you to retrofit your AR-15 rifle to shoot up to 60 different calibers with the same upper and lower receiver. The Warlock is compatible with most off-the-shelf AR-15 components, which means you get to build your rifle the way you want to. Whether you're into predator hunting, hog hunting, deer hunting, or self-defense, the Warlock multiple caliber system lets you do it all. Find out more about this innovative, made in the USA product at frontiertactical.com.
Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, a nationwide group working to keep public lands in public hands so future generations can enjoy what we enjoy. Join the group that makes a difference. Check us out at backcountryhunters.org.
Want a trip with some of the most talented anglers on the water? Then book a trip with Northwest Fishing Guides. Salmon, that's right, salmon are their specialty, and you'll get a chance to catch them out of the mighty Columbia River from a comfortable and sturdy 26-foot boat. Northwest Fishing Guides will take you out for steelhead and sturgeon too, and can also accommodate your saltwater fishing desires. So whether you want salmon in the cooler or other fish on the line, book your trip now at nwfishingguides.net. That's nwfishingguides.net. Book your trip with the best.
Did you check out this month's edition of Northwest Sportsman Magazine? If you didn't, you're missing out, because it's the best publication out there that covers the fishing and hunting scene, not only in Washington State, but in the entire Northwest. Northwest Sportsman Magazine has got great writers and great content you need to have to be successful. Northwest Sportsman Magazine is the publication for you. Find out more at nwsportsmanmag.com or pick up a copy at a newsstand near you.
Some of the best saltwater fishing you'll ever experience is taking place off Vancouver Island this year, and Rugged Point Lodge is where you need to go to catch them. Rugged Point Lodge offers comfortable accommodations, great food, and the chance to catch a limit of salmon, halibut, or lingcod mere minutes away from the dock. Better still, it's not too late to book a trip for this summer to take advantage of what promises to be the best salmon fishing in a generation. Book now at ruggedpointlodge.com. ruggedpointlodge.com, where fishing dreams come true.
Are you an outfitter, sporting goods retailer, boat dealer, or someone else in the outdoors industry? If you are, you know targeted advertising works best, and what would work better than advertising with America Outdoors Radio? Our hour-long show is heard throughout Seattle, Everett, and the East Side every Saturday morning, and your message will be heard there too. Better still, our rates are way more affordable than you think. Want to find out more? Contact me, John Cruz, through my website at AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com. That's America Outdoors Radio, bringing you more business. Next up on America Outdoors Radio, we've been walking the aisles at SHOT Show in Las Vegas, Nevada, and we came upon something really unique, really innovative we got to tell you about. It's a company called Nature Blinds, LLC. They're from Kerrville, Texas, and they have got the most realistic ground blinds I have ever seen and a whole lot more. With us here, tell us more about it, is the founder of Nature Blinds, LLC, Tim Thomason. Tim, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Happy you guys are here with us today.
So, Tim, these are basically, well, for lack of a better word, looks just like an oak tree. and it's made out of polyurethane, and it looks like you could put it out on your ranch, you could put it out on your property, and it's going to be there forever, and it's going to fool deer and wildlife for years to come.
Well, not even fool deer, wildlife, and all those things to come, but also fool you. It blends so well with the nature out there, the trees, the bushes, the landscape. It's ridiculous.
So you've chosen an oak tree as your model for this, and you have a small kind of one-person blind, you got two-person blinds, you even have a handicap accessible blind. But why the oak tree?
The oak tree is found in 80% of America and the world. So we went with oaks rather than a cypress or a redwood or a pine where they're just designated to those particular areas. The oak tree is all over the world.
So the weight on these is what, about 250, 300 pounds?
Yeah, the larger ones, the Hero blind, is going to be about 350 pounds, and our Solo, which is a single blind, that's going to be about 250 pounds.
So in terms of, for lack of a better word, setup and delivery, how do most people do that?
It's real easy. We ship them from our actual manufacturing plant on a UPS or a FedEx truck, which is unbelievable when you see these things coming down the road. We offload them. Two guys can move them around, and most people use their small tractors or a small trailer or like a skid behind their quad.
All right, and let's talk about, this is radio, so we need to describe this a little bit better. So basically people understand that it looks like an oak tree. It's polyurethane. Exactly how tall is it and how wide? I know you have the two different models that we're talking about here.
Right, 60 inches wide on our Hero and about 7'2" on the inside. So you can stand up. These look like a giant oak stump looking at them from a distance.
Well, the other thing I like about them is you've got the retractable windows inside as well. So if you're a hunter, those go up and you can hunt. But if you just want to stay out of the elements, just perfect.
Yeah, they're warmer during the winter, cooler during the summer. So during the summer in Texas, we're about 100 degrees, 17 degrees cooler. Now, when we have these up in Canada or up in Michigan or Wisconsin, you're going to get down to 10 degrees or maybe some below degrees. Two people in 20 minutes, natural body heat will raise the temperature 32 degrees warmer.
This is absolutely brilliant. So in terms of applications, you could basically use this, folks, all over North America. And so I understand completely white-tailed deer hunters are all over this. But one of your associates was telling me turkey hunters really enjoy this product too.
Turkey hunters have found a brand new home, and that's a Nature Blind. Comfortable, reliable, scent-proof, and almost soundproof.
I noticed the doors are actually lockable. I'm guessing most people, they put this ground blind out and they lock it up and they use it when needed. And it looks like it would last forever.
Absolutely. We encourage everybody that uses our blinds to leave them out because it ages with the natural surroundings of trees and bushes. These are called Nature Blinds for a reason.
So one other application that I was thinking of here is, we have a lot of people who hunt, listen to the show, but we also have people who don't hunt. We have bird watchers, we have wildlife watchers, and I couldn't imagine anything better than having one of these on your property, or anybody listening who's involved with state parks or national wildlife refuges. These would be fantastic birding blinds.
Absolutely. The state of Texas Parks and Recreation has actually purchased some of these from us for bird watching, animal watching. Those that can't get out in the outdoors as much as other people, they have been used in all these parks for that exact same application as well.
Again, Tim, this is great stuff. You're listening to America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. We're talking to Tim Thomason. He is the founder of Nature Blinds, LLC. So we've talked about these blinds. What's the price point on them?
The price point for the Hero is $39.95 retail, and our Solo is $28.99.
And again, folks, this is something that's going to basically last you a lifetime. So this is completely different and quite frankly, a huge game changer compared to the normal ground blinds that you see that just aren't going to last that long and just frankly aren't as good in terms of doing the job. Now, that's only half the story about what you have here, because you've got some other products out here too. I was basically sitting on what I thought was a tree stump, and it turned out it was a cooler.
Absolutely. We have another brand called Surreal Performance Planters, and we just launched that this last year. We have planters that look like oak logs and birch logs, and then we also have our brand new oak and birch cooler that people are raving about and going crazy about. It's 90 quarts. It holds ice for 4 to 5 days. Unbelievable when you have these on your back porch or actually around a campfire.
4 to 5 days, that is unbelievable. Now, is that just because of the material you're using, or do you have to basically have some sort of electrical source to keep it that cool?
No electrical source whatsoever. Just because of the high-density polyurethane and the polyurea, which is a bowling ball material, encases that coldness there to leave it for 4 to 5 days in that hot Texas sun is where we tested these.
So in addition to that, you have these planters, which just look absolutely cool. And I also noticed that you have something that, for those states where it's legal, dispenses bait, solar-powered no less.
Oh, my goodness, yeah, the tree feeder. That has been our number one seller in the feeding industry. It shoots out deer corn. It shoots out fish feed for your lakes and ponds to decorate those areas. And it can also shoot out pellets and Milo as well. So there's a lot of features that we do. In our testing, we actually shot a whole bag of Skittles out of there. What a phenomenal thing. It looked like the big rainbow on a commercial, but we like to have fun as well. But that feeder is something that enhances your property.
So as you can see, folks, there's quite a bit here to take in. But I've got to ask, you're the founder of this company. How did you come up with this idea? This is just, you look at it and it's like, wow, this is brilliant.
Yeah. Long story short, always raised in the outdoors. In Northern California is where I was originally from, up on the coast there by the Oregon border. So real familiar with hunting and the outdoors and fishing. And then I was in the theming industry as well, so I can sculpt. And so my father and I were on a first hunting trip to Texas, in deep South Texas in Laredo. And something I've done all my life, every morning before I get up and get my day going, I'm a man of faith, and so I have a little devotional and say a little prayer. I remember sitting in a deer blind. I've never hunted out of a box blind before. I was used to hunting up and down the mountains. And we're in Texas, and I'm afraid of heights. I'm a big man, and I was only 10 feet in the air, but it felt like 20. And so that morning before the sun came up, I had did my devotion and said a little prayer, and it went like this: God, give me a good idea. I've always been an entrepreneur my whole life, and a creator and just inventor. And 27 minutes later changed my life. I heard a small, still voice say, build a tree. That day I left Texas 2 days early. My dad was not happy. We flew back to California. I got in my garage, and 3 hours later, I had sculpted out myself a tree. And my dad came out not happy with me because we left early from hunting. And he said, that's a tree. I said, Dad, it's a hunting blind. Why not hunt in a tree instead of on a tree or out of a tree? Nature is fooled by the pattern of that bark texture. And it went from there. That's the short version. But I'm so blessed to be able to travel around and speak all over the country on follow your dreams, and dreams do come true. You're going to get knocked down, but dust yourself back off, pick yourself up, and keep moving for those dreams to come true.
That is an incredible story, and once again proof that God does hear our prayers. Tim, we got to go, but before we do, let's give folks a website so they can find out more about your product line and get some of these trees and planters and coolers on their property.
Awesome. You can go to natureblinds.com, and that will lead you to our dealer network nationwide. And again, natureblinds.com. Come and check us out.
That's natureblinds.com, and that's Tim Thomason on America Outdoors Radio. Again, incredible product, incredible story. Tim, thanks for sharing it with us.
Thank you, sir.
Do you long to hunt Africa's most dangerous big game? Big Game Hunting Adventures offers that. Hunting free-range Cape buffalo in some of the wildest untamed country left on the continent. You'll be the only hunting party tracking free-range buffalo on 160,000 acres of land where the borders of Mozambique, South Africa, and Zimbabwe meet. They include pickup at Johannesburg International Airport, and they're among the most affordable you'll find in all of Africa. Book your safari today at BigGameHuntingAdventures.com.
Sometimes it's okay if you're loud. Sometimes it's best if you're not. Silent Strike offers the quieter performance. Silent Strike is the world's only functioning .223 subsonic ammunition. When you need both performance and stealth, no matter the situation, Silent Strike is the best performance you'll never hear. Find out more at AllegianceAmmo.com.
It's time for another local shot of the outdoors. It's the Pacific Northwest edition of America Outdoors Radio, and you'll only hear it here on Fox Sports 1380 KRKO.
We are talking to Matt Gaget again, and we're talking about coho salmon at Rugged Point Lodge, but we're not doing it in the saltwater. We're doing it in the freshwater. Tell me about this opportunity, Matt.
Well, We completely switch gears up here. We go from an ocean kill fishery into a fly fishing, catch and release fishery in our small local rivers.
So let's talk about those rivers. Let's talk about the fishing. Is this located right by the lodge, or are you basically taking a boat back to shore and then driving to some of these places?
No, we go by boat to the rivers. All the rivers that we fish have no road access.
Oh, nice.
Occasionally we run into the odd helicopter coming in, and we have small Zodiacs with jets, and we leave them anchored in the estuary, and we run up little rivers.
Oh, that sounds like an absolute hoot. So is this walk and wade fishing, or are you fishing from a boat?
Oh, no, it's we use the boat for access, and we get out and fly fish.
This sounds utterly fantastic. Fishing on these pristine rivers where there's no roads, which means almost no people, and pristine wilderness on top of that, and good coho fishing to boot. What's a good day look like out there for a fly angler?
Well, that depends. That depends a lot. As you know, we're fly fishing, so casting ability comes in, water conditions come in. Some days you can see lots of them, and they don't bite, and then some days you can get one every other cast. But typically the guys are, they're getting, 4 to 15 hookups.
Geez, that sounds like a great day to me. Last question. Do you have any openings left for this year?
We have a group that backed out this year, and it's in prime time. It's right over the Canadian Thanksgiving weekend, and that's about it. Just about all the groups that come up and experience this rebook and hold their dates.
Well, there you go. Your chance to go fishing on the rivers of the northwest coast of Vancouver Island on the fly for the coho. If you want to find out more, go to the website ruggedpointlodge.com. That's ruggedpointlodge.com, offering saltwater fishing and freshwater fly fishing for coho. Matt, thanks as always.
Hey, thank you, John. Take care.
There's a whole bunch more of the great outdoors coming your way on Fox Sports 1380.
Some of the best saltwater fishing you'll ever experience is taking place off Vancouver Island this year, and Rugged Point Lodge is where you need to go to catch them. Rugged Point Lodge offers comfortable accommodations, great food, and the chance to catch a limit of salmon, halibut, or lingcod mere minutes away from the dock. Better still, it's not too late to book a trip for this summer to take advantage of what promises to be the best salmon fishing in a generation. Book now at ruggedpointlodge.com. ruggedpointlodge.com, where fishing dreams come true.
Welcome back to America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. This portion of the show is brought to you by California Sportsman Magazine. It is the monthly publication that covers the hunting and fishing scene in the great state of California. Look for it at a newsstand near you. When it comes to hunting, when it comes to fishing, if you're a hunter or angler, you know that you spend a lot of time in the dark, either getting to the places you're going to or coming back from them. And the whole lighting game has changed. Lighting is important, especially if you are in a duck boat trying to go through the marshes and trying to navigate to the blind, whether you're on an ATV or in a pickup truck or a Jeep on a rocky mountain road trying to get to where you need to be at first light. Lighting is huge, and lighting has changed. With us here to tell us more about why you might consider an upgrade is Blake Hamar. He's with Cali Raised LED. Blake, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So most of us grew up with the regular lights that we have mounted on bars on our Jeeps or that we have mounted on our duck boats, and they do okay, but everyone knows that sometimes they kind of fall short of what we want when we're trying to get from point A to point B in the middle of the night.
Yeah, on those older style lights that most people are familiar with, you run into a lot of issues. For example, they get hot, the bulbs burn out. You go to start your boat in the morning and the battery's dead. The problem with these old lights is they draw a lot of power, they're a lot of upkeep, and they're not durable. The lens break, and they don't last.
So when it comes to LED lights, though, that's like completely the opposite. And folks, if you compare, even just at the flashlight level, LED lighting versus regular lighting, it is, pardon the pun, a night and day difference, isn't it, Blake?
Yeah, so the great thing about LED is it's a 6000K, so the temperature of the light is a pure white. So if you're going out at night, you're used to that little dingy yellow light where you can't really see anything. Versus with the LED, it's a 6000K. It's a pure white light. So you're able to see everything like you would if it was daytime. Another thing great about the LED is it draws no power, and for the output you're getting from a small amount of light is incredible. For example, an 18-watt pod throws 2,000 lumens, and the draw is 1 amp. You can power that pod with a 9-volt battery you pull out of your TV remote.
That is amazing. That's absolutely amazing. So let's talk about upgrading some of our toys. And you're talking about this pod here. Is that something I can basically put on the front of my duck boat and, replace the current lighting that I have?
Yes. That little pod is about 3 inches across and about 3 inches deep. It has 6 LEDs on it. And that's great for small areas, angling them off to the side. But for most duck boats, with flat fronts, the popular light is a 21.5-inch dual-row light bar.
Okay.
The great thing about that light bar is the optic that's used. With the optic, you get a spot flood combination. So the center part of the light has a spot optic, and then on the outsides, you have a flood. So you get a great overall coverage. If you're driving through a slough, driving through a marsh, you get a very far throw down, but you also get your sides covered very well. So you have a full 180 degrees of lighting coverage.
This sounds exactly like what I need when I'm going through the cattails and the marshes of where I like to hunt. Now, let's talk about Jeeps. Let's talk about ATVs. What do you recommend? I'm assuming we're talking light bars for these vehicles as well?
Yeah, so for Jeeps, guys like doing a 50-inch straight bar across the top just because it fits the Jeep perfectly. And the mounts for it are very inexpensive. They bolt to the 3 bolts on the hinge. Also with those mounts, there's options to hold one of these little pods right on those hinge mounts where you can angle them off to the sides, and we like to call it a ditch light. And basically that's where you have a little LED pod angled off, lighting up the ditch to the side of you. So you basically have full coverage, because with LED lighting, it's very easy to add lights in little spaces to cover up what we call blind spots.
Sure.
So basically, you never have an area where you're not going to have light. For example, if you're driving a back windy road at night and you're coming around a turn, you don't have light in that turn. So you want to have a little light angled sideways, so when you're coming into that turn, you already have light in there. I mean, going these back roads, you never know if a tree's falling down, there's a deer standing right there. You don't know until you run into it. And having a nice little light put in your blind is nice.
If we haven't convinced you yet to go ahead and upgrade your Jeep, your ATV, or your boat with LED lighting, I don't know what else we have to say, because it's pretty obvious it's time to do so. You can find out more by going to Blake's website. It's Cali, C-A-L-I, raisedled.com. Where is your actual store located, Blake?
Oh, we are located in Santa Fe Springs, California. We also have branches throughout California, Arizona, and Nevada as well. We service all 50 states. We have free shipping on our website. We also travel the U.S. doing shows. So, yeah, we're all over the country. We have a full line of light bars, accessories, pods. We also have a new line of LED headlamps that are 3,000 lumens apiece, as well as a 2,000 lumen flashlight as well. And these are all incredible products at very affordable pricing.
Again, it's CaliRaisedLED.com. Either drop by one of their stores or just go to the website. Like Blake said, they service all 50 states. Cali, C-A-L-I, RaisedLED.com. Blake, thanks for the quick education on LED lighting on America Outdoors Radio.
Thank you.
Well, now that we've talked about why you need lights, we're going to talk about why you might want an ATV as a hunter. And the person we're talking about it with is Gabe Egan. He is the owner of Chico Honda Motorsports in Chico, California. Gabe, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So, Gabe, got to ask, I'm a pickup truck owner. I got friends who are Jeep owners. Why would any of us want to plop down money and buy an ATV for our hunting?
Well, a lot of hunting and fishing and things like that go to very remote areas of the mountains, and the road will funnel down to something that barely fits by an ATV, which is 47 inches wide approximately, and which is much more narrow than a pickup truck or a Jeep. So that's one reason. Another reason is the four-wheel drive capability of an ATV is pretty incredible. The Foreman comes with four-wheel lockers stock. So, you get into a muddy or sticky situation, you can, lock all four wheels, and not a lot of Jeeps have that, and most all pickup trucks do not have that. Plus, having them more narrow and nimble, you can go around a lot of rocks that you might high center on a Jeep or a truck and get back to that elk or that deer, which is super heavy, that you need to pack out of there on your ATV, whereas you wouldn't even be able to get near it with a truck or a Jeep.
All right. Well, okay, I've got my wallet out. I'm almost ready to hand you some money at this point. But I've got to ask you, when it comes to ATVs, some models are better than others when it comes to hunting and hauling game and that sort of thing. Are there specific lines that hunters should look at?
Well, a popular model we've had is the Foreman Rubicon with hunting. It's a really rugged machine. It's got independent suspension. You can get it automatic or manual shift. You can get it power steering or non-power steering. So, when you're really going into that backcountry, it's got that low range grunt, so you can really crawl out of somewhere hauling something heavy. So, I'd probably recommend either a Foreman Rubicon or a smaller Rancher 420 with independent suspension as well would probably be, the best off-road capable models for hunting.
And I see you've got a side-by-side model. When I think of ATVs, I always think of just an ATV is for one person only, but you've got this Pioneer line where you can get two people in there, and you can haul up to a ton with that thing.
Yeah, it's a very great, cool lineup. It's been expanding over the years. We've got any size from, 500, which is almost the same size as an ATV, which you can put two people in it, to a large 1,000. You can put 5 people in one of those if you want to, or you can get the the 3-seater model. So it's really a cool machine. They can haul thousands of pounds. They have crazy off-road capability right off the showroom floor. So if you don't have a Jeep, you basically buy one of these and you instantly have one that will go twice as fast on any given terrain as a Jeep will, right off the showroom floor. So it kind of opens the doors to family and recreation, as well as having a hunting vehicle that you can take out. So.
All right. Well, there you go, folks. If you want to go further, if you want to get into those places you couldn't otherwise with a Jeep or a truck, consider an ATV. And if you want to look at the Foreman Rubicon or the Pioneer line from Honda, go to the Chico Honda Motorsports website. You'll find it at chicohonda.com. That's chicohonda.com. And if you find yourself near Chico, California, drop in and go ahead and try one of these out, because I think you'll be impressed. Gabe, thanks for telling us all about this on America Outdoors Radio.
Thanks a lot.
Timberline range camps are known for their rugged, durable, well-insulated range camp trailers. Don't think of these as an RV. They're an RV on steroids that will last you a lifetime. They are comfortable, too, fitted with all the amenities you would expect, and they even include a wood stove. Timberline range camps can be used as a hunting camp or a towable home to take you to your remote getaway. One thing is for sure, all your friends will be envious of your towable range camp trailer. Find out more at sheepcamps.com. That's sheepcamps.com for Timberline range camps.
Sometimes it's okay if you're loud. Sometimes it's best if you're not. Silent Strike offers the quieter performance. Silent Strike is the world's only functioning .223 subsonic ammunition. When you need both performance and stealth, no matter the situation, Silent Strike is the best performance you'll never hear. Find out more at allegianceammo.com.
Would you like to own your own piece of recreational or rural property? Neho Land is British Columbia's leading expert in recreational and rural land. Whether you're looking for a 5-acre recreational retreat or a 1,000-acre trophy property to enjoy or leave as a legacy to your family, Neho has a property for you. Spectacular British Columbia has no restrictions on non-Canadian ownership. Visit Neho.com to find the property right for you. Remember, don't wait to buy land. Buy land and then wait. Invest now. Niho.com. Neho.com.
Log Cabin Sporting Goods is the only fully stocked sporting goods store on Prince of Wales Island in Alaska. Let Log Cabin outfit your next fishing, camping, or hunting expedition. We can supply you with every outdoor amenity imaginable. Melissa, John, and the crew are gearing up for a big end-of-year sales event. We're planning specials and great closeout deals happening now through Christmas. Search for Log Cabin Sporting Goods on Facebook and follow us there to check out the Facebook Friday deals. Log Cabin Sporting Goods.
Tom and Jerry's Boat Center in Mount Vernon is Washington's largest Hughes Craft and Kingfisher aluminum boat dealer. As a leader in sales, service, and fun on the water, Tom and Jerry's only purpose is to make sure you end up with the right boat for your family's needs at a price that will make you smile. Whether it's a new Hughes Craft or Kingfisher or a new Yamaha or Honda outboard, Tom and Jerry's can take care of all your needs. Check us out at tomandjerrys.net, and we'll see you on the water.
With hunting season right around the corner, you need to be ready. Speedy Sharp is all you need to take on your hunt to sharpen every edge you have when you are on the prowl for your favorite game. Speedy Sharp will sharpen all your knives, including serrated and hawk-billed knives, as well as broadhead arrows. Weighing 1.5 ounces, ultra slim, and only 4.5 inches long, you won't have to worry about lugging a heavier sharpener around. This hunting season, when you find yourself in the backcountry with a buck to dress, Speedy Sharp will make sure you never lose your edge. You're back with America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. This portion of the show is brought to you by the American Shooting Journal. It is the monthly publication covering firearms, shooting, sports, and more. Look for it at a newsstand near you nationwide. We start off our news with some Centennial National Park news. It turns out Glacier National Park in northwest Montana, like many other national parks celebrating the 100-year anniversary of the Park Service, experienced its busiest year ever. According to the Associated Press, there have already been over 2 million visitors to this park that features towering mountains, beautiful lakes, great wildlife viewing. As a matter of fact, if you ever go there, a good chance you're going to see grizzly bears. You're definitely going to see lots of deer, and keep an eye out for the mountain goats. There's more mountain goats there than you can shake a stick at. But perhaps the most popular part of Glacier National Park is the Going to the Sun Road. In August alone, 737,000 people visited this park, prompting park officials to develop a plan to address the impacts to the park and congestion on the Going to the Sun Road that takes you over a subrange of the Rock. Meanwhile, another national park is growing, at least a little. The National Park Service announced that Yosemite National Park in Central California is going to grow by 400 acres. According to the Associated Press, the addition to the park features wetlands and a grassy meadow surrounded by tall pine trees on rolling hills. The land is habitat for gray owls, bears, and fields of springtime wildflowers. The place, known as Ackerson Meadow, was sold to a land trust by Robin and Nancy Wainwright for $2.3 million. The land trust then donated the land to the park. That's a great story, and the Wainwrights, as well as the people working for the Trust for Public Land that made this happen, definitely deserve a round of applause. Which is more than our next group gets, because it's that time of the show again.
It's time for the Trail of Shame.
Shame, shame on you. Shame, shame on you.
Stories of poachers, scoundrels, and other ne'er-do-wells, so if you see someone committing a criminal act on the water or in the field, turn them in. It's the right thing to do.
Our inductees to this week's Trail of Shame are the litterbugs, who treat our public lands as a dumpster instead of places to treasure. A case in point is a new gate that's been installed on a main access road to Goose Bay State Game Refuge near Wasilla, Alaska. The gate is meant not to keep out waterfowl hunters and bird watchers who are welcome to walk in. Nope, it's meant to keep out the people who, since 2010, have left nearly 100 abandoned vehicles, hundreds of discarded appliances, and 120 tons of garbage for state workers to clean up. A similar situation occurred in the Quincy Lakes wildlife area in eastern Washington. The scenic area was trashed by people who were not there to fish or hike, but instead were partying while attending concerts at the nearby Gorge Amphitheater. The littering and vandalism got so bad that the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife permanently gated off the south access road that prior to that time provided a way to enter and leave the wildlife area without turning around. And let's not forget the widespread littering and vandalism done by the militia members who decided to take over and occupy the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge in eastern Oregon in the not-too-recent past. The photos published in newspapers about how these people treated our public lands was perhaps more of a reflection of their true colors than they know. So, here's to you, all of you who don't treat our public lands with the care that they deserve and instead vandalize and trash them. Because this week, you're walking our trail of shame.
Shame on you.
Next up on America Outdoors Radio, have you ever thought of heading up to Alaska and just having an incredible hunting adventure? How about this? renting a raft and floating down a river and bow hunting for moose or caribou and seeing nobody else for days at a time. Well, one person who's done that and is going to tell you about it is Paul Atkins. He hails from Kotzebue, Alaska. He's an outdoors writer. He's a pro staffer for Cabela's and Bowtech. Paul, welcome to the show.
Hey, John, I'm glad to be here.
Paul, what I'm describing here actually comes out of an article you wrote, and it just sounds fantastic. I mean, what an adventure. Tell our listeners a little bit more about this experience.
Well, John, I've been living up here for about 20 years, and for a long time I used to fly out and just camp and hunt, and then, a few years later I discovered that, if you had a raft and you could get down the river a little further, you could probably see a little more. Things are kind of slow at camp. You can float down, maybe find a moose, find a caribou, find a bear, and things get a little bit more exciting. But it's incredible, John. I do it every year. We rent it, fly out, take a raft with us, camp, float, camp, and we've had a lot of success. It's just about as much fun as you can possibly have, I think, in Alaska.
Well, Paul, there's a lot of rivers in Alaska, and for somebody down here in the lower 48 that's trying to figure out where and when to go, what kind of advice do you have for them?
Well, John, September's kind of the prime time, really, for people down in the lower 48 or for non-residents. The season runs, for moose, it runs September 1st to September 20th. And that's kind of the time frame for everything, in my opinion. In all the years I've been here, that's when I've done most of my hunting. And, you got the moose rut there about the third week, and then the caribou migration usually happens in that time frame. And, those animals they're moving, they're coming south, and you pack up, you get your gear together, maybe grab a buddy or two, and, head out and find a river. And like you said, there's tons of rivers. I mean, tons of rivers everywhere. It seems like a river's going in every direction, but and they're all pretty good, actually.
Wow. All right. So let's talk about actually making this happen. And there's two things I got from the article. Number one, you want to rent a raft. Number two, you want to get a transporter, which is very different than getting a guide.
Exactly. A transporter, his job is to get you from point A to point B and back again. I mean, that's his job. A transporter, for those that don't know, is, that's a bush pilot with a bush plane usually a Super Cub or a 180, and they haul you to a campsite or to a place that you want to go, on the river, and drop you off and then come back and get you. I wrote about this a lot. You got to do your research on who you choose, because you're actually putting your life in their hands.
Yeah.
In all aspects of the hunt and the trip, and so you want to make sure that you choose correctly. But and there's lots of great ones out there. There's some bad ones too, but there's lots of great ones out there as well.
So the raft itself, what size do you recommend, and are there any minimum requirements, so to speak, that you got to consider when you're looking at this?
Well, I think a lot of it depends on what you're hunting and what you're trying to do, just like anything else. And, if you're on a moose caribou thing, you want to probably take, a 14 to 16 footer, something that's going to hold a lot of weight. Here's an example. A few years ago, we got very fortunate on a hunt up north of Kotzebue and took a moose and 2 caribou, and There was 3 of us. And I was really worried about how we were going to get and we were like 2 miles from camp. And there's lots of brands, but I use Soar brand, which, I got a 16-footer. They're not very wide, but that thing, it held all the weight. All the moose, 2 caribou, and 3 guys, and we floated 2 miles back to camp. And, but yeah, and today the rafts they're incredible. There's lots of great ones that hold a lot of weight. You got Soar, Avalon, there's all kinds that are made specifically, for hunting. Beforehand, rafts were just for rafting down rivers, and that's great too. But nowadays they've kind of put some thought into it, and a lot of rafts are made for hunting. But as far as recommendations for one, I think there's, just get on any website, punch in hunting rafts, and you'll probably find something that'll suit you.
One more thing we need to touch on here, and I think you just about touched on it with that last story, is having an outboard motor for that raft.
Yeah, up here, specifically up here where I'm at, we don't use them that much because the rivers, they go deep, shallow. So I've never used a motor up here in this part, but I've hunted down on Kodiak and some of those areas in the southern part of Alaska. And without a motor, we probably couldn't have done it. Hunting around those islands and stuff, motors come in very handy. They can get you from a longer distance faster. If you need to get from one bay to another bay or a cove or whatever it might be, they sure are handy when it comes to that. The downside of that is they're loud, just like
Sure.
anything else. Gas motors can be loud. So if you're getting into that last, 300 or 400 yards or maybe longer, you want to probably shut them off and grab the paddles and try to get to where you want to go. But they do, when you got to go a distance and you're in kind of deep water, they work great.
We are out of time, but folks, if you want to find out more about Alaska adventures and Alaska hunting, go to Paul's website. It's pauldAtkins.com. That's pauldAtkins.com. You can also look him up on Facebook, too. Paul, thanks so much for sharing this wonderful Alaska experience with us on America Outdoors Radio.
You bet, John. Thanks for having me.
I hope you enjoyed this week's broadcast. Really enjoyed the great guests we had on our show, like Paul Atkins and John Cox and all the other ones, too. If you get a chance, go to our website. You'll find it at AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com. In case you missed last week's show, you can catch that there. We've got a Facebook page, too. Simply go to America Outdoors Radio, and you can catch us on the web on an internet radio station called WRVO Radio. The website address, RenoViolaOutdoors.com. It's an internet station dedicated to outdoors programming. I hope you'll support our sponsors, the publishers of 4 great monthly magazines, the American Shooting Journal, California Sportsman Magazine, the Alaska Sporting Journal, and Northwest Sportsman Magazine. We've got to go, but here's hoping the good Lord will bless you today and in the days ahead. Next Saturday is National Hunting and Fishing Day, and I hope you'll make it a point to get out there and enjoy 2 of our nation's favorite pastimes. Remember, it's your country and you're outdoors.
It's time for another local shot of the outdoors. It's the Pacific Northwest edition of America Outdoors Radio, and you'll only hear it here on Fox Sports 1380 KRKO.
For Next Field Report, we're broadcasting from Siletz Bay at the south end of Lincoln City, Oregon. We're talking to Bill Lackner. Bill comes out here every summer and through the fall and gives seminars to folks that are absolutely free on how to crab and how to clam. And you've got an ingenious little device that people can use and they don't need a boat for.
No, right from the docks and in our bays and from the shore like we're doing today. The Crab Max folding crab trap catch capacity is what distinguishes this trap from the others of similar design and quality of materials. These things will last for years.
Well, why don't you go ahead and show me how it's done? It's a triangular thing, very lightweight. You've got a chicken leg in there for bait, so you're swinging it around on a hand line, and boy, you'd think you're a cowboy. And there you go. And out it goes into the bay. And how long are you going to let it sit out there, Bill?
10 minutes. That's all it takes. If the crabs are in the bay, you're going to catch them, and if they're not, you're not.
You can tell pretty readily if a crab's in there, can't you?
Yes, you can. On the fishing pole here, the line will twitch. You can feel the crabs. If they're really active, feeding on the chicken, you can feel the vibration in the hand line.
Now, the crabs down here at Siletz Bay, are they all Dungeness crabs?
Yes, they're all Dungeness.
And how big do the crabs have to be, and what's the limit?
5 3/4 of an inch on the widest part of the carapace, in front, but not including the points. You're allowed 12.
And how do you like to cook them?
Oh, I love steamed. I back my crabs. I back them live. You have to put them in a pot of boiling water. Water returns to a boil. You count 12 minutes and you're good to go.
So let's get back to these traps here. Very ingenious, especially for people like me who are used to either Choice A crab pot, Choice B crab ring. This really is something anybody can use.
Kid and women friendly. Women just love these things.
Well, you got an idea of how this works. And again, you can throw it out on a hand line or you can go ahead and cast on a fishing pole. One more thing. I understand you have a website, and I'm guessing people can find out more about these clever little traps on your website. Is that true?
Oh, absolutely. There's lots of video on how they work. Clamdigging.info, I-N-F-O.
That's clamdigging.info, where you'll find information about clam digging, as you might imagine, and crabbing here on the Oregon coast and right here in Lincoln City. Come on out here and take part in one of these seminars, too. They're a lot of fun. People are catching a lot of crab out here, and I think you're going to enjoy it. Bill, thanks so much for telling us about it.
John, it's my pleasure. Thank you ever so much.
Looking for a way to get the message out about your business to hunters and anglers throughout the Seattle and Everett area? Then consider advertising with America Outdoors Radio on Fox Sports 1380 KRKO. To find out more, contact John Cruz through his website at AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com.